The first thing is, if you'll notice on the sleeve, it comes out like this. The reason is that in this pattern, they give you a view for a short sleeve. So if I was making a short sleeve, I would cut this part off. It says for view B, cut here. That's the short sleeve. And so the reason this comes down and goes out is so that when this is folded up underneath, this measurement will match up with this measurement where it's going to be folded back to. Well, I'm not making a short sleeve. I'm doing a long sleeve. So I am just going to continue that line right through that where they've changed the shape. And I've just lined up the two lines, and I've just crossed this out because I'm just going to cut that straight for a long sleeve. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, and if you can't see this, you can always, we have some red pencils you can use. But if you kind of scratch those out or kind of just put a little dash there, then you know that, don't do that. Okay, that was one change I needed to make right away. The other change I needed to make, and you saw that this will help you when you do your placket, is I'm going to take the top of this placket here, the little chimney part, and it's in this nice little angled, which looks beautiful here, but to sew that is a nightmare. So we have a little better method, and that is going to be to square off the top of that little chimney. So I'm just going to do a straight line going up on that side. I'm going to do a straight line going up on that side, and then I'm going to join these two lines right at the tip, and I can make sure I've got them straight, right at the tip of that little chimney. Okay, right like that. And this one needs to go a little bit further. So now when I cut that, I will make sure I cut that square off. So I'm going to just put a little kind of just a little diagonal line through that, so I know don't cut along those lines, cut along my new line. Okay, now I am ready to alter. All right, the first alteration I'm going to do is, remember, we always do length first. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do my sleeve, because I've got my sleeve sitting here. Now, even though I use three pattern pieces to get my total sleeve length, I'm only going to add on the actual sleeve itself. And so your pattern will look like this, and it will say to shorten, fold on this line. And then it gives you this ruler looking thing. Well, I don't really like that ruler. I don't think we need it because I have a good ruler, and it's a lot more accurate than this little piece of paper. So what I do is I actually just go straight across on that shorten or lengthen line. Okay, then when I'm finished that, I'm going to pin this down to my filler paper, my pattern paper that we have, and I am going to then extend my grain arrow so that I can line it up, and then I'm also going to measure off from here the 2 1/4 inches that I need for the sleeve length. So there's 2 1/4, so I've measured that off 3 places. I've drawn my arrow down, and now I'm ready to put this on there, and I'm going to first line up the arrow, and then I'm going to line up my little marks to get the right amount. Now, even though I've got it lined up to where it should be, I'm going to make sure it's straight. Okay, so this is straight, but I've got it, it's not quite straight here. So, all right, so that is good. Okay, and then the reason I'm doing it on this cork is so that I can pin it in as I go and get it exactly where I want it before I tape it. Otherwise, if it messes up and I've taped half of it, I have to redo it. So I'm going to grab a few pins. Okay, so now that I've got this ready to go, let's get that exactly where we want it. And you'll notice, well, you guys have noticed that on your desk you have a cork area where you can do the same thing. Okay, so now let's make sure this arrow is lining up. Ah, that is like perfect. Okay, so now I'm just going to pin that in, and I'm going to pin it in like in about 3 places here, and then this is ready to tape. So I'll move this and get my tape, and I'll go ahead and tape this down. Okay, so this is just like your assignments that you did, your alteration assignments. Okay, once I get that all taped down, then I'm going to have to redraw. Okay, so what do I need to redraw here? Well, I'm going to use the medium line here and the medium line here. So somehow I've got to get those two lines to match up and look right. The other thing is this shoulder, this seam here, the sleeve seam is straight. So when I finish, I want it to be straight. So when we blend, basically this one will come over here a little bit and this one will come over here a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll go above and below enough to make it nice and smooth, and in this case straight. Sometimes we do curved lines, but so when I come over here, I'm going to do this side. I'm going to kind of do this side first, and I might even go, sometimes we have to go all the way to the corner to get it to go nice and smooth and straight. And that's what, well, mine actually works pretty good from about right there. So now I'm going to draw that in, and then I'm going to come down. Okay, now I'm going to go back down to this one because this is a shorter line. So this one I'm going to go right to the corner and right to where I want to blend it. Okay, so I got that. And then I've got to make sure I get this right. Okay, so that, okay, good, right there. That's going nice and, so here's this line. Okay, I'm going to do it a few times. Okay, so now I've done that. I'm going to come back and I'm going to put little kind of hashtags, little diagonal lines through the one I no longer use. I kind of did it through the small as well just because it might confuse you, but really it's this medium one that we want to put the lines through. And now I know I don't use that one because there's lines kind of go through it, and you can see I've got the medium one. So that's a nice straight line. Okay, now I got to do the same over here. Okay, so again, this is the one, there's the medium and there's the medium. Wow, look at that. That is a big difference. So if I go out on this one, I'm like right here, and if I come in on this one, I'm about right here. So on this one, I'm going to kind of put my ruler down first to just see what I've got. Okay, now because this is a shorter piece, this line to this line, I'm going to have to do most of my blending up through here where I have a little bit more room to do it. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put this ruler here, and I'm going to kind of go all the way down. Now if I go from here to there, I'm right where I want to be on the top, but on the bottom I've taken a lot out. But I'm okay with that because I know that my husband he's a little on the thin side, so I think that will work out just right because now I can get a nice straight line. Okay, and then this, so it's actually, yeah, so if you look at this, this is where I blended. I ended up going from this line to here, and I ended up going from this line over to here. So really, I've gone about the same. I've gone over here a quarter and over here a quarter. So we've kind of split it, and now I have a nice straight line through there. So that, the length is done. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to go check. Okay, so now we're ready to do our length on the back, on the shirt, the whole shirt we're lengthening. That's our second other length measurement we have to do first. So because I'm lengthening the whole shirt, I've got my back, I've got my front, and very important, we have a front band on this shirt. So if I lengthen the front and the back, yes, they'll go together and be beautiful, but if I don't do the band, then we got a problem. So we want all three pieces. And I like to line up my patterns the way that they're going to kind of be sewn. Here's the side seams, and then we have the back, and then we have the front, and here's the band that goes to the front. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut straight across on their lengthen and shorten line. Again, I ignore the little ruler thing because like I said, I have a ruler that's quite accurate. Okay, so we'll get this cut here. And this is going to go pretty much like the sleeve, like we've done all of our other length measurements. We just slash the pattern, and then I like to take the pattern paper that we have here in the lab, And I like to put one side on, tape it on. Now, I'm actually doing this on a hard table where I don't have the advantage of being able to pin my patterns together, but I think I'll be okay. All right, now on the back, you'll notice that there's no grain line. Well, that's okay, because the center back line is on the fold, and that becomes our straight grain line. And as you know, those grain lines are what help give us the grids that we need to get our pattern straight. So I'm going to put that down. And how much length am I going to add? 3 inches. So now I'm going to mark 3 inches, and I'm going to mark it in a couple places so that I get this where I need it. Okay, now I'm ready to put the back on, and this one we should be okay without pinning it first because it's pretty straightforward. Line up the center back straight grain line and match up my little marks so I know exactly where the 3 inches is, and then I'm ready to go ahead and tape that down. Okay. Remember, we want our patterns nice and flat. And then on this one, I only have to redraw. Here's my medium right here. I'm going to put a piece of tape so that it goes. Now, sometimes with all these lines, you're like, oh, which one is it? But if you, small, medium, large. So I need to line up these 2 lines, and because this is a pretty straight pattern, I can redraw those pretty simply. So that one is ready to go. This one, same thing. I'm just going to tape the top one. Then I'm going to draw my lines. Now, where is the grain arrow here? It's right here. You can see it. So I'll just redraw that. And because these are all parallel, all of these lines should match up. So if I want to do this line and maybe another one, that will all match up. And then here's my band. And on the band, we have a center front line that goes along the whole thing. And so this will just be the same thing. I'll just line it all up and make sure I get my lines matching well. And because this is straight a grain right here, I'm going to do both of those. And now I'm going to mark 3 inches. And then I'll go ahead and put this on here. And see, as long as I get those lines matched up good with my marks for 3 inches, then the band is done, except that I need to, I've got this line already done. Now I just need to make sure I get this one joined. And okay, that one is done.